It was midnight in an old school building. The long hallways were empty, silent, and cold. Only the echo of footsteps and the faint squeak of a mop filled the air. Mr. Harris, the janitor, moved slowly from one classroom to another. He was an older man, tired from years of cleaning the same floors and fixing the same broken lights. He never complained, but he often felt invisible. To most people, he was just the janitor. But tonight, something would happen that would change his life forever. As he pushed his mop bucket toward the storage room, Mr. Harris stopped. There it was again, a sound. A faint scratching noise, like claws against metal. At first, he thought it might be a rat. The school had plenty of those. But this sound, it was different. It was uneven. It was desperate. Mr. Harris frowned. He pulled out his ring of keys and slowly unlocked the storage door. The hallway lights flickered above him, buzzing faintly, as if the building itself was nervous. When the door creaked open, the smell of dust and cleaning chemicals greeted him. But there, in the corner, huddled against a pile of old boxes, was something he could never have imagined. A small glowing creature sat trembling in the shadows. Its body shimmered faintly, like starlight trapped under skin. Tiny wings twitched at its sides, not strong enough to fly. Its scales reflected colors, shifting like liquid silver and blue. And its eyes, large, bright, full of fear, stared straight into his. Mr. Harris froze. His breath caught in his throat. What are you?" he whispered, his voice shaking. The creature tried to speak. Its mouth moved awkwardly, as if forming words was painful. Finally, in broken English, it said, "Can I stay here tonight?" Mr. Harris's heart pounded. Did he really just hear that? A talking creature? A glowing baby dragon? The janitor stepped closer, slowly, carefully, like approaching a scared child. The little dragon flinched but didn't run. It looked too weak, too tired. "They are chasing me," the creature whispered again. Its voice trembled, soft, like wind through cracked glass. Mr. Harris knelt down. "Who's chasing you?" he asked. But the creature only shook its head, curling its wings tighter around its body. For a long moment, silence filled the storage room. The janitor looked at the tiny being before him, and deep inside, something shifted. This wasn't just an animal. This wasn't a dream. This was real, and it was asking him for help. He remembered his own childhood, long ago, when he too had been scared and alone, with no one to turn to. He remembered hiding under his bed during storms, wishing someone would come and tell him he was safe. And now, this strange little creature looked at him with the same desperate eyes. Mr. Harris sighed. He knew he couldn't just walk away. "All right," he said softly. "You can stay, but just for tonight." The creature blinked, as if it didn't fully understand kindness. Then, slowly, it relaxed its wings, breathing a little easier. Mr. Harris took off his old jacket and laid it over the creature like a blanket. The baby dragon curled into it, shivering less. Its glow dimmed, like a candle settling into calm. But just as Mr. Harris stood up, he heard something outside. A low hum, a faint vibration like an engine idling where no car should be. The janitor's eyes narrowed. He walked to the nearest window and peeked through the blinds. Outside, in the parking lot, strange lights flickered. Not headlights, not police cars. Something else. Shadows moved across the pavement. Figures in dark uniforms, carrying devices that pulsed with green light. Mr. Harris's stomach tightened. They were here. Whoever was chasing the creature had already found the school. He turned back to the storage room. The baby dragon's eyes widened in fear. Could sense them too. "Who are they?" Mr. Harris whispered. The creature shook its head violently, its small claws clutching the floor. "Bad hunters," it whispered. "They take us. No, come back." The janitor's throat went dry. This was no ordinary situation. He was just a school janitor. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. And yet, in this moment, he knew one thing for sure. If those hunters found the baby dragon, something terrible would happen. He looked at the little creature again. So small, so helpless, so out of place in this cold, empty building. And for the first time in years, Mr. Harris felt something powerful rise inside him. A sense of duty, a sense of purpose. He had been invisible all his life, but not tonight. The baby dragon whispered again, barely audible. "Please, protect me." Mr. Harris nodded, his jaw set. He didn't know how, but he would. Outside, the sound of heavy boots echoed closer. The hunters were entering the building. Their scanners beeped faintly, tracking the faint glow of alien energy. Mr. Harris quickly shut the storage room door and turned off the lights. The hallway fell into darkness, broken only by the red exit sign glowing faintly at the end of the hall. He crouched beside the dragon. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "Don't make a sound." The creature obeyed, curling smaller under the jacket. Its glow dimmed until it was almost invisible. Mr. Harris pressed his ear against the door. He could hear them now, 2, maybe 3 men. Their voices were low, cold, and sharp. One of them said, "The signal is strong. The target is inside this building." Another replied, "Check every room. Don't let it escape." The janitor's hands tightened into fists. This was no ordinary chase. These people were not here to help. They were hunters. He glanced down at the creature. Its eyes were wide, full of terror. Trusted him now, and he couldn't betray that trust. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Any second now they would check the storage room. Any second now his life would change forever. Mr. Harris whispered one last time, "Don't worry, little one. Tonight you're safe with me." And then the doorknob began to turn. The doorknob rattled. Mr. Harris's heart jumped into his throat. In the storage room, he pressed his back against the wall, his old hands trembling. The baby dragon curled under the jacket, its glowing scales dimming almost completely. The door shook again. A voice came from outside, low and commanding. "Check in here." The janitor held his breath. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to run, but he stayed perfectly still. The hunters were right there, just a thin door between them. But then, another voice spoke. "No. The signal is stronger down the hall. Check the classrooms first." The footsteps faded away. The doorknob went still. Silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Mr. Harris let out a slow breath. He wiped sweat from his forehead with a shaky hand. That was too close. If they had opened the door, it would have been over. He looked down at the creature. Its big, glowing eyes stared at him, wide with fear but also trust. It didn't speak this time, but Mr. Harris could feel the silent question in its gaze. "Will you keep me safe?" The janitor swallowed hard. He never thought of himself as brave. He was just a man who cleaned floors, fixed leaky pipes, and took out the trash. But something inside him wouldn't let him walk away. He crouched down and whispered, "All right, little one, you can't stay here. It's not safe. But if you trust me, I'll help you." The baby dragon tilted its head, as if trying to understand. Its tiny wings shivered, brushing against the jacket. Finally, it whispered back, broken but clear, "Trust you." Those 2 words struck something deep in Mr. Harris's chest. Nobody had said that to him in a long time. He nodded. "Then we move." Quietly, Mr. Harris opened the storage door slowly, peeking into the hallway. It was dark. Only the buzzing exit sign gave faint red light. The hunters' voices echoed faintly from the far side of the school. The janitor gently picked up the baby dragon. It was lighter than he expected, warm to the touch, like holding a living flame. The creature tucked itself into his arms, trembling. "Shoo!" Harris whispered. "Stay small. Stay quiet." He grabbed his mop cart, pushing it ahead with his free hand. Inside, he placed the baby dragon under rags, brushes, and a bucket. Only its glowing eyes peeked out from the shadows. "Don't move," he whispered. Then, with slow, steady steps, he pushed the cart into the hallway. The school felt different now. What was once an ordinary building now seemed like a maze of shadows and dangers. Every creak of the floor, every flicker of the lights, felt louder than before. Down the hall, 2 hunters walked past. They wore black uniforms and strange glowing scanners. The devices pulsed with green light as they swept them over the walls and doors. Mr. Harris lowered his head, pretending to mop. He hummed softly, like a tired worker just passing through. The hunters glanced at him but didn't stop. One muttered, "Just the janitor." The other replied, "Ignore him. The signal is close." They walked past, boots clattering on the tiles. Mr. Harris's chest ached from holding his breath, but he kept pushing the cart. The baby dragon stayed hidden, silent. Only when the hunters turned the corner did Harris finally exhale. He wheeled the cart down to the basement stairwell. The heavy metal door groaned as he opened it, but the noise was swallowed by the distant hum of the hunters' machines. Step by step, he pushed the cart downstairs into the dark basement. The air was damp and heavy with the smell of old pipes and dust. The boiler rumbled in the corner, filling the silence with a low growl. Here at least they were alone. Mr. Harris pulled the rags away, lifting the creature out. The baby dragon stretched its small wings, blinking in the dim light. "You'll be safe here for a while," Harris said, setting it gently on a blanket he had found on a shelf. The dragon curled up, but its eyes stayed locked on him, glowing faintly. For the first time, Harris really looked at the creature. It wasn't just strange, it was beautiful. Its scales shimmered faintly with colors he couldn't name. Its eyes looked ancient, too wise for something so small. And yet, it was still only a child, lost and afraid. "Who are they?" Harris asked softly. "The ones chasing you." The dragon hesitated. Then, in broken words, it whispered, "Hunters, take us. Never come back." Mr. Harris felt a chill. He didn't need full details. The meaning was clear: if they caught this little one, it would disappear forever. The janitor sat down on an old chair, rubbing his face with tired hands. "What am I doing?" he muttered. "I'm not a hero. I'm just a janitor." But when he looked up, he saw the baby dragon watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. Trusted him. It had no one else. And deep inside, Mr. Harris knew the truth. He was the only one who could protect it right now. He might not be a hero, but he was here. And sometimes, being here was enough. He leaned forward, speaking firmly. "Listen, little one. They won't stop. We have to move again. If they find us down here, it's over." The dragon nodded, tiny wings trembling. "Where go?" Harris sighed. "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. You just stay close to me." Up above, the sound of heavy boots echoed again. The hunters were spreading through the school. Their voices grew louder. One of them called out. The signal moved. It's heading toward the basement. The baby dragon's scales flickered with fear. It curled tighter against Harris's chest. The janitor stood, gripping the creature protectively. His eyes hardened. He had made his choice. No matter what happened next, he would not let them take the little one. And so, the chase was only beginning. The hunters were coming. The basement would not stay safe for long. But Mr. Harris was ready. He whispered one last promise to the dragon. "They'll have to go through me first." The creature buried its head against his chest, glowing faintly like a heartbeat in the dark. The sound of footsteps grew closer. The hunters were almost here, and the janitor tightened his grip on the mop handle in his free hand. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was all he had. The basement was dark and heavy with silence. Mr. Harris stood near the boiler, clutching the baby dragon close to his chest. The little creature's glow dimmed until it was almost invisible. Its tiny heart beat fast, like a trapped bird. Above them, footsteps echoed through the school. Doors slammed open, boots thudded against the tiles, and voices called out in sharp, commanding tones. The hunters were searching every room, every corner. Mr. Harris listened closely. They were getting nearer. The sound of their scanners beeped faintly, the noise climbing higher each time they swept across a hallway. "They're coming," Harris whispered, his throat dry. The baby dragon pressed against him, trembling. The janitor looked around the basement. There was nowhere safe. Pipes, boxes, and old machines filled the room, but no real hiding places. If the hunters came through that door, they would find them instantly. His mind raced. He had spent years in the school, fixing every leak, every broken light. He knew the building better than anyone. Maybe, just maybe, that knowledge could save them. The basement door creaked. The sound cut through the air like a blade. Harris stiffened. The hunters were here. 2 men stepped inside, flashlights sweeping across the walls. Their black uniforms blended into the shadows, but the glow of their scanners betrayed them. The green lights pulsed as they scanned the air. One of them spoke, his voice cold. "The signal is strong. It's close." The other nodded. "Check behind the boiler." Harris's heart hammered. That was where he stood. Quickly, he set the baby dragon inside his mop cart, covering it with rags and tools. He whispered, "Stay still. Don't make a sound." The creature's glowing eyes looked up at him with fear, but it obeyed. It curled under the rags, its body trembling. Harris grabbed the mop handle and forced his face into a tired, bored expression. He stepped forward, pretending to work. The hunter's flashlights landed on him instantly. "Hey, you there!" one barked. Harris raised his mop. "Evening, officers. Just cleaning up. Place gets real dusty down here." The hunters exchanged a look. One of them stepped closer, shining the light on the cart. "What's in there?" he demanded. Harris's pulse quickened. His whole body screamed to panic, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Cleaning rags. Buckets. Tools. You want to check? Be my guest." He pushed the cart forward slightly. The baby dragon shivered under the rags, but didn't move. The hunter stared at Harris for a long moment, then lowered his light. "Not our target," he muttered. "We don't have time to waste." The signal's moving again. The other nodded. "Then let's move." Without another word, they turned and left the basement, boots echoing on the stairs as they climbed away. For a few seconds, Harris stood frozen. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped the mop. Only when the basement door slammed shut did he finally breathe. He rushed to the cart, pulling the rags away. The baby dragon peeked out, eyes wide and wet. "You did good," Harris whispered, lifting it gently into his arms. The creature pressed its head against his chest, glowing faintly with relief. But Harris knew this wasn't over. They couldn't stay here. The hunters would sweep the building again. It was only a matter of time before they found them. The janitor thought fast. Where could they go? The school had a few hidden spots most people didn't know about. Maintenance shafts, crawl spaces, even a forgotten storage attic. But none of those were safe for long. Then he remembered something: the old storm tunnels beneath the school. Years ago, before the city repaired the drainage system, water used to flood into those tunnels. Most people had forgotten they even existed, but Harris had the keys. He looked down at the baby dragon. "All right, little one, we're moving again." The creature blinked, its tiny wings rustling. "Safe?" it asked softly. Harris gave a tight smile. "As safe as I can make it." They moved quickly now. Harris pushed the cart back up the stairs, every squeak of the wheels sounding like thunder in his ears. He kept to the shadows, staying low, listening carefully for the hunters. At one point, a flashlight beam cut across the hallway just ahead. Harris froze, his grip tightening on the mop handle. The hunters were sweeping nearby classrooms, their scanners buzzing loudly. He waited until they moved on, then slipped into the east wing of the school. There, at the end of a long hallway, stood a heavy metal door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Harris pulled out his keys with shaking hands. He unlocked the door and slipped inside, closing it softly behind him. The smell of damp air hit him immediately. Rust, dust, and something older. This was it, the entrance to the forgotten storm tunnels. He set the cart aside and lifted the baby dragon into his arms. The creature blinked up at him, its glow brighter now that they were alone. "Where go?" it asked. Harris looked down the dark stairwell, the tunnel stretching deep into shadow. "Somewhere they won't find you, but you have to trust me." The dragon's voice trembled. "Trust you." Those words hit him again, heavy and powerful. He wasn't just protecting a creature. He was protecting something innocent, something precious. And maybe, just maybe, something more important than he understood. Above them, a shout rang out. Over here! The signal's stronger in this wing. The hunters had found their trail. Boots pounded against the floor. Voices grew louder. Harris's blood ran cold. They were seconds away. He tightened his grip on the dragon and stepped into the tunnels. The air was damp and cold, but he didn't stop. He moved quickly, deeper into the shadows, his footsteps echoing faintly. Behind him, the metal door rattled. The hunters were breaking it open. The chase had begun again. Mr. Harris whispered to the dragon, his voice steady even as fear clawed at his chest. Hold on, little one. We're not done yet. The tunnel stretched before them, endless and dark. The hunters were right behind. And the janitor, an ordinary man with nothing but courage and a mop, was now the only shield between an alien baby dragon and the forces hunting it. The question burned in his mind with every step. How long can I keep him safe? The storm tunnels were cold and damp. Water dripped from the ceiling in steady drops, echoing in the darkness. The air smelled of rust and old rain, heavy and stale. Mr. Harris held the baby dragon tightly as he walked deeper into the tunnel. The little creature's glow faintly lit the path ahead, just enough for him to see the cracked concrete walls and the shallow stream running along the floor. Behind them, the sound of the hunters grew louder. The metal door to the basement had been forced open. Voices echoed, sharp and commanding. Boots slammed against the stairs. They're in the tunnels, one of the hunters shouted. Spread out. Don't let them escape. Harris's chest tightened. There was no time. He set the baby dragon inside his mop cart again, covering it with rags. Stay hidden, he whispered. The little one's eyes glowed faintly under the cloth, but it didn't make a sound. Harris grabbed the cart handle and pushed it forward quickly, the wheels squeaking against the wet concrete. Every squeak made him wince, but he had no choice. The tunnel stretched ahead, splitting into two paths, left or right. Which way? Harris froze for a second, listening. To the left, faint rushing water. To the right, silence. He thought quickly. The hunters would expect them to run toward the sound. So he turned the cart right, deeper into silence. The tunnel grew narrower, darker. Rusty pipes lined the walls, dripping constantly. The air grew colder. Harris's footsteps echoed too loudly in the empty passage. He slowed his pace, forcing himself to move carefully. Behind him, the hunters entered the tunnels. Their flashlights flickered against the walls. The sound of their scanners beeped faintly, growing sharper. They're close, one voice muttered. Don't let them slip away. Harris's heart pounded. The sound was coming from the left tunnel, just as he hoped. They had taken the wrong path for now, but it wouldn't last. The baby dragon shifted under the rags, whispering softly. Scared. Harris bent down, speaking low. I know, little one, but we'll make it. You trust me, right? The dragon peeked its glowing eyes through the cloth. Trust you. Harris felt a strange strength from those words. He wasn't alone anymore. He had something worth protecting. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber, an old drainage hub with a broken ladder leading up to a heavy grate. Moonlight shone faintly through the bars above. An exit. Harris's hope lifted, but quickly died when he saw the grate was bolted shut. Rust covered the metal, but it was solid. He grabbed the ladder and shook the bars. They didn't budge. Behind him, voices echoed again. The hunters were splitting up. Some had gone left. Some had gone right. They were closing in. Harris set the dragon down gently on the floor. Stay behind me, he said firmly. He grabbed the mop handle from the cart. It wasn't much, just a wooden stick with an old rag tied to the end. But right now it was all he had. The baby dragon looked at him with wide eyes. You fight. Harris gave a grim smile. If I have to. Flashlights swept into the chamber. Two hunters stepped inside, scanners beeping rapidly. Their eyes locked on Harris immediately. There, one shouted. Target found. The other raised a strange weapon, glowing with blue energy. Step aside, human. That creature is not yours to protect. Harris's grip tightened on the mop. His whole body trembled, but he forced his voice to stay steady. "Sorry, fellas. He's not going anywhere with you." The hunters sneered. "Do you even know what that thing is?" one demanded. "It's not a pet. It's dangerous." Harris glanced back at the little dragon, who was trembling but staring up at him with trusting eyes. "Dangerous," Harris said softly. "No, just scared." The hunters stepped closer. "Move, Janitor. You don't understand what's at stake." Harris swung the mop in a wide arc, blocking their path. "Then explain it to me." The first hunter snarled and lunged forward. Harris jabbed the mop into his stomach, making him stumble back. It wasn't strong, but it was enough. The second raised his weapon. Blue energy crackled at the tip, glowing brighter. "Last chance, old man." But before he could fire, the baby dragon let out a sharp cry. Its scales glowed suddenly, flooding the chamber with bright silver light. The hunters shielded their eyes. The scanner in one man's hand beeped wildly before shorting out with a spark. "Shut it down," one shouted. "It's flaring." Harris didn't hesitate. He scooped up the dragon and rushed past them, shoving the cart forward to knock one hunter off balance. The mop clattered on the floor as he sprinted down another tunnel, carrying the glowing creature against his chest. The baby dragon whispered weakly, "Sorry. Couldn't stop." "Don't apologize," Harris said between breaths. "You just saved us." The tunnel bent sharply, leading into another chamber. This one had a rusted maintenance hatch low on the wall, half hidden by debris. Harris dropped to his knees, pulling at the hatch. It was stiff with rust, but he yanked hard until it screeched open. Behind it, a narrow crawlspace stretched into darkness. He looked at the baby dragon. "It'll be tight, but they won't follow us here. You ready?" The dragon nodded, glowing faintly. "Ready." Harris crawled inside, clutching the creature close. The hatch slammed shut behind them, muffling the sound of the hunters' voices. They moved slowly through the crawlspace, the air stale and choking. Pipes ran along the walls, dripping constantly. Rats scattered ahead, squeaking in the dark. At last, the passage opened into another tunnel. The sound of rushing water echoed faintly. Harris set the dragon down gently, breathing hard. His arms and knees ached, his body trembling from fear and exhaustion. But they had escaped for now. The baby dragon sat beside him, its glow softer now, like a tired candle. It looked up at Harris with wide eyes. "You protect me." Harris smiled faintly, brushing dust from his hands. "Yeah, and I'll keep doing it." The dragon tilted its head, whispering, "Why?" Harris thought for a moment. Because he couldn't stand by. Because it was the right thing. Because this little one trusted him. Finally, he answered softly, "Because someone has to." But as he spoke, he heard it again. The hunters. Their voices carried faintly through the tunnels. They were still searching, still coming. The baby dragon leaned against him, whispering, "They never stop." Harris clenched his fists. "Then neither will I." The tunnel was quiet again. For the first time that night, Mr. Harris and the baby dragon were alone in the dark with no footsteps chasing them. The air was heavy, damp, and cold. Water dripped steadily from pipes above, falling into the shallow stream running along the floor. The sound echoed endlessly, filling the silence. Harris sat down against the wall, his chest heaving. His old body ached from crawling, running, and carrying the little one. He had never felt this exhausted in all his years working at the school. But he couldn't stop. Not yet. The baby dragon curled beside him, glowing faintly like a lantern in the darkness. Its scales shimmered softly with silver and blue, but the glow was weaker than before. It looked tired, too tired. "You holding up, little one?" Harris whispered. The creature blinked slowly, its big eyes fixed on him. "Cold, tired," it said in its broken English. Harris pulled off his old work jacket and wrapped it gently around the dragon's small body. The little wings twitched under the cloth, and the creature let out a soft sigh. "There," Harris said quietly. "Not much, but it'll help." For a moment, the janitor simply watched the dragon. It was still so strange, so unreal. Only a few hours ago, he was sweeping empty hallways, bored and invisible as always. Now, he was protecting a glowing alien dragon from men who wanted to take it away. "How did I end up here?" he muttered to himself. The dragon tilted its head. "What mean?" Harris gave a small chuckle. "Never mind. Just talking to myself. Old man habit." The dragon blinked, then slowly shifted closer, resting its small head against Harris's arm. Its warmth spread through him, chasing away some of the damp chill of the tunnel. "Why help me?" the creature asked softly. The question hit Harris harder than he expected. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he thought back to when he was young. Back to when he had been small, scared, and alone. He remembered nights when his father wasn't around, when the house was too quiet, too dark. He remembered sitting under his blanket wishing anyone would stay by his side. But no one came. Maybe that was why. Maybe he saw himself in this little dragon, lost and terrified. And maybe, just maybe, he wanted to give it what he never had. Someone who refused to walk away. "Because you needed me," Harris finally said. "And I was there." The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, shimmering with something like gratitude. It whispered, "Trust you." Harris felt a lump in his throat. He gave a small nod, his voice low but firm. "And I trust you too." Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was almost peaceful, despite the danger still hunting them. The dragon shifted again, curling against Harris's chest. Its scales pulsed faintly, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. For the first time since he had found it, the little one seemed calm. Harris stroked its head gently, surprised at how smooth the scales felt. "Got a name, little one?" he asked softly. The dragon blinked slowly, as if thinking hard. "Lero," it said finally. "My name, Lero." "Lero," Harris repeated, letting the name roll off his tongue. "That's a good name." The dragon tilted its head curiously. "And you?" "Harris," the janitor said. "Mr. Harris. But you can just call me Harris." "Ha-riss," Lero repeated carefully. The sound was awkward, but it made Harris smile. But the moment of calm didn't last long. The distant echo of voices carried faintly through the tunnel. The hunters were still searching. Harris tensed, listening. They weren't close yet, but they hadn't given up. And Lero knew it too. "They never stop," the little dragon whispered, curling tighter against him. "They follow. Always follow." Harris frowned. "Why? Why are they after you?" For a long moment, Lero didn't answer. Its glowing eyes dimmed, and its small body trembled. Finally, it whispered, "Planet gone. Hunters take children. Take me. Wanted me for weapon." The words hit Harris like a punch. He stared at the little dragon in shock. "A weapon? You're just a child." Lero lowered its head. "But strong. Light inside me. They want use it." Harris's hands tightened into fists. So that was it. These men weren't rescuers. They weren't protectors. They were hunters, and Lero was their prize. "Well," Harris said firmly, "they're not getting you. Not while I'm around." Lero looked up at him, eyes shimmering. "You fight them?" Harris gave a small, tired smile. "I may just be a janitor, little one. But yeah, I'll fight them." The sound of footsteps echoed closer now, louder, sharper. The hunters were entering the outer tunnels. Their flashlights flickered faintly in the distance. Lero's glow dimmed in fear. "They come." Harris stood, pulling the dragon into his arms again. "Then we move," he said. "We're not done yet." They moved deeper into the tunnels, water splashing under Harris's boots. The path sloped downward, leading toward a larger drainage chamber. Here, the ceiling was high, pipes twisting across like metal vines. The sound of rushing water filled the space as streams poured into a wide underground channel. Harris scanned the chamber quickly. There were multiple exits, several tunnels branching out. Too many choices. He muttered, "All right, old man, think. Where's the safest way out?" But before he could decide, Lero stirred in his arms. Its eyes flickered with strange light, pointed weakly toward one tunnel. There. Safe path. Harris blinked. You sure? Lero nodded. Feel it. Light tells me. Harris didn't understand what that meant, but he trusted the little one. He adjusted his grip and started toward the tunnel Lero had chosen. Behind them, flashlights spilled into the chamber. The hunters had arrived. Their scanners beeped wildly, locking onto Lero's glow. There. Don't let them get away, one shouted. Blue energy crackled as they raised their strange weapons. Bolts of light shot across the chamber, sizzling against the concrete walls. Harris ducked behind a large pipe, clutching Lero tight. The air buzzed with the smell of burned metal. One shot had missed by only inches. Lero's body glowed brighter, reacting to the danger. But Harris whispered urgently, No, stay calm. Don't give yourself away. The little one trembled but obeyed. It dimmed its glow until it was faint again. Harris peeked from behind the pipe. The hunters were spreading out, moving fast. If he didn't act now, they would corner him. He whispered, All right, Lero. Time to trust you again. He tightened his hold and sprinted toward the tunnel the little dragon had chosen. Energy blasts lit up the chamber behind them, striking walls, pipes, and water. Steam hissed into the air. But Harris didn't stop. He dashed into the tunnel, vanishing into the shadows. When they finally slowed, far from the chamber, Harris leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. His whole body shook with exhaustion, but they were still alive. Lero looked up at him, glowing faintly. You trust me, it whispered. Harris smiled through his heavy breathing. Yeah, I do. The bond between them had grown stronger. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trust, about family, about standing together against something bigger than both of them. And Harris knew, deep down, that no matter how this ended, he would never abandon Lero. The tunnel narrowed until it ended at a massive iron grate. Beyond it, faint moonlight shone through, casting silver shadows across the wet stone. Fresh air flowed in, cool and clean, carrying the scent of grass and rain. Freedom. Mr. Harris's heart lifted. They were close, so close, but the moment didn't last. The echo of boots filled the tunnel behind them. The hunters were near. Their voices were sharp and angry, carrying through the darkness. No more running, one shouted. Corner them. Don't let the creature escape. Harris pressed his back against the grate, clutching Lero tightly. His mind raced. They couldn't run anymore. This was it, the last stand. The grate was old, rusted, and chained shut. Harris shook it hard, but it didn't move. The lock was solid, corroded but unbreakable. Damn it, Harris muttered under his breath. His arms trembled. He didn't have the strength to break through. The hunters' flashlights flickered in the distance, growing brighter with each passing second. Energy weapons hummed, charging for fire. Lero peeked out of Harris's arms, eyes glowing softly. Scared, it whispered. Harris crouched low, speaking gently. I know, little one, but listen to me. We're not giving up. Not now. The dragon blinked, staring into his eyes. You still protect me? Harris managed a small smile, though fear burned in his chest. Always. The hunters appeared at the far end of the tunnel, their weapons raised. Blue light danced along the walls as they aimed directly at Harris and the dragon. Step aside, one barked. That creature belongs to us. Harris stood tall, still holding Lero close. His voice was steady, unshaken. No, he doesn't belong to you. He's just a child. And he deserves to be free. The hunters sneered. You don't understand what it is. That thing will destroy you. Destroy your whole planet. Harris shook his head firmly. I don't see a weapon. I see a scared kid. And I won't let you take him. The hunters fired. Blue energy bolts ripped through the tunnel, exploding against the walls. The air filled with smoke, sparks, and the stench of burning metal. Harris ducked, shielding Lero with his body. But one blast struck the grate, rattling the chains. The old metal groaned loudly. Harris's eyes widened. The lock, it was weaker now. He pulled at the chains desperately, but his strength wasn't enough. Come on, he growled through clenched teeth. Lero wriggled free from his arms and stepped forward. Its body glowed brighter, pulsing with silver light. No, Harris said quickly. They'll see you. But Lero didn't stop. The little dragon stood before the chained grate, wings spread, scales glowing like a small star. The hunters froze, shielding their eyes from the sudden light. Their scanners beeped wildly, alarms blaring. Contain it! Now! They shouted. But before they could fire again, Lero released a blast of radiant energy. The tunnel filled with blinding white light. The air shook, the chains snapped, and the rusted grate blew open with a thunderous crash. Moonlight poured in. Fresh night air rushed through. The way was clear. Harris scooped up the glowing dragon and stumbled through the broken opening. They tumbled out into the open field beyond the tunnel. Tall grass swayed under the moonlight, stretching endlessly. The sky above sparkled with stars, free and vast. For the first time all night, Harris felt hope. But the hunters weren't far behind. They burst from the tunnel, weapons glowing, eyes furious. There! Stop them! Harris tightened his grip on Lero and ran through the grass. His old legs burned, his breath ragged, but he didn't stop. Lero clung to him, whispering, "Don't let go." "Never," Harris gasped. The hunters raised their weapons again. Bolts of blue light cut through the grass, burning the earth around them. One passed so close it singed Harris's jacket. Harris stumbled, nearly falling. He couldn't outrun them forever. Not like this. Then Lero lifted its head. Its glow was steady now, no longer flickering. It stared at the hunters, eyes filled with determination. "Harris," it whispered. "Trust me." One last time, Harris looked down at the little dragon. He saw no fear there now. Only courage. Only strength. He nodded. "I trust you, Lero. Do what you have to." The baby dragon spread its wings wide. Its body flared with silver light, brighter than the moon, brighter than the stars. The hunters shouted, shielding their faces, trying to steady their weapons. But before they could fire, a massive wave of radiant energy surged outward from Lero. It swept across the field, crashing into the hunters like a storm of light. Their weapons sparked and died. Their scanners shattered. One by one, they were thrown backward, collapsing onto the ground, groaning in pain. The night fell silent. Harris blinked, stunned. The hunters lay scattered, unconscious, their strange gear smoking. They would not be getting up anytime soon. He looked down at Lero, who now glowed faintly again, weak but smiling. "Free," the dragon whispered. "Safe." Harris sank to his knees, holding the little one close. Tears pricked his eyes, though he didn't know why. He had done it. They had done it. "It's over," he whispered. "You're safe now." The moon shone brightly above them, silver and calm. The grass swayed gently in the night breeze. The danger was gone. For the first time, Harris let himself breathe. No more running. No more fear. Just peace. Lero nestled against his chest, its small body warm and steady. "You saved me," it whispered softly. "Not just tonight. Always." Harris smiled faintly, his voice rough with emotion. "Guess we saved each other, huh?" The dragon blinked slowly, eyes glowing like tiny stars. "Family," it whispered. The word made Harris's heart ache in the best way. "Yeah," he said softly, hugging the creature close. "Family." As dawn began to touch the horizon, Harris knew life would never be the same again. He was just a janitor, a man who had spent years unseen, unimportant. But tonight he had made a choice. He had stood his ground. He had protected something precious. And for the first time in a long time he felt alive.